Okay, so we are here on our Talking Tuesday about owning property. We're here with Realtor Erica Wilson and loan consultant Najiba Bashir. Yeah, I did it.
Yes, yeah, you did. Perfect.
So I just want to remind everybody that today's event, Talking Tuesday, brought by Get the Word Out Virtual Block Party, is a month-long campaign about educating, uniting, and empowering our community with important information that is so necessary for us to move forward individually in our own journeys, but also as a community. We're only as strong as our neighbor. And so it's very important that we make this information that we found beneficial to ourselves, beneficial to the community. Available to the community. So, with that being said, I didn't even tell you what Get the Word Out is founded by two nonprofits. I want to make sure I stress that. So it's founded by Crown Services, Inc., which is a nonprofit organization that is supporting families and children that are in foster care. And then We Are One Purpose, which is an organization, a nonprofit organization looking to support the homeless in our community throughout the nation. It's a nationwide project looking to really tackle our homeless population from adults, families, and children. So let's go ahead and just jump right into that. Following the lead of We Are One Purpose's mission, let's talk about property ownership. And why should I own a home, or why should I own a property?
Okay. Well, I want to thank you, first of all, for giving us this platform. I think what you're doing is excellent. We need to make our community more aware and what's going on. And home ownership is so important, and people don't know it's as easy as it really is. I mean, you only can make it as hard as you make it. I mean, and to answer your question, just think about it like this. If you can rent someone's property and pay 100% of their mortgage and pay off their dreams, or you can choose to own a home and pay into your own. And this is something, a home, you can, will it down. It can stay in your life for generations, to come. And it's a wealth building instrument versus it's just like having your piggy bank. When you pay down your mortgage, your home become more and more valuable. It becomes a live piggy bank, So if you pay, I'm just going to use an example of $100,000 home, which don't really exist today. But if you were to pay that off and you put your down payment on it, when you're done paying that home is either going to grow in value and one day going to become 150, 250,000. And guess what? If you don't owe a mortgage, guess how much money you got sitting there? That could be used for retirement. That could be used for education for your children. That could be something that you just will down to the next generation, and they can have that wealth. That's something you could use to take out money and invest in investment property to have a residual income coming in. There's so many things you can do with home ownership, and that's why I believe it's important to, own a home, have home ownership. Najiba?
And you're right. I mean, you have great points, and the same thing, it's the equity part, the saving money wise. If you're paying rent, that $1,700 is going straight to the landlord. But if you're paying $1,700 in mortgage, you're having that principal going towards your loan, and then also the equity building on your home. So it's a win-win situation, and the freedom that you have of your own home, knowing that you can do anything you want to it. So yeah, definitely lots of advantages of owning your own home, for sure.
You know, I want to add one more thing to that too. When I was a child, my mom was renting a home. If you don't mind me telling a little story here,
Of
because
course
it's
not.
kind
Please
of
do. Please
in a lot of
do.
people. And she was owning a home, and renting a home. And so while we're renting this home out and we're paying the mortgage, we pop up one day and there is a foreclosure notice on the outside of the door.
Oh my
See,
goodness.
so if we had owned that home, we could have had control of that instead of paying rent to someone and they was just taking the money and putting it in their pocket instead of paying the mortgage. And that led us to be what?
Homeless.
Homeless.
Mm.
So that's another reason why it's important to take control and own your own home, because you're in control of that. No matter which way it goes, you're in control and no one else. And they can't come and say, oh, I don't have a place to stay, so I need you to move so I can live in my own home. That could happen as well. That has happened to some of my family members.
So giving you owning a home, from what I'm learning, right? Because I don't own a home, definitely a goal. But owning a home, to recap, allows me to have not only like living security, right? But also financial security, it's sounding like, because unlike a car where it's an upside down investment, right? Because as soon as you drive the car off the lot, it starts depreciating in value, but yet your payment stays the same. But with a house, as I make payments, I'm gaining wealth as that balance goes down.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
So, what's a housing budget? When we're talking about a housing budget, what is that? What does that mean?
Did you even take that?
So in the house, purchasing a home, there are two things you want to look at. You are looking at a down payment and you're also looking at a closing cost. So normally the down payment, the lease amount is 3.5% with an FHA loan that you will need to have. Closing cost varies. It's from $6,000 to $8,000. Now, closing cost necessarily doesn't mean that all that $8,000 is going to paperwork. Part of the closing cost is called prepaids, which is money put aside. So when your taxes and your insurance are due, they're paid out of that account. It's called escrow account. So a lot of times you would think, oh, wow, I mean, $8,000 for just paperwork, that's a lot of money. In reality, that's not true. You are not paying all that money for closing costs. It's basically the bank security is securing enough money. So let's say we're closing in October and your taxes are due in November. They want to make sure they collect enough money to pay those taxes on your behalf for you. So that's part of the closing cost.
Okay.
Depending on when you're closing. Have a closing cost. In some cases, there are down payment assistance programs for the down payment part. That's where you hear a lot of TV, zero down, zero this. That there is available programs that can help you with the zero down for sure. But you definitely have to have a closing cost. Some cases, seller can help with some, closing cost if they like. It's not mandatory, it's an option. However, in today's market, a lot of sellers are not cooperating with that. So you definitely want to have that savings.
Okay. In regards to saving, how much should I save for a down payment? You mentioned 3%. Could you?
3.5%. Yes. So for example, if you're purchasing a home of, $300,000, you're going to need 3.5% of $300,000. So we're talking about $10,500. That will be your down payment. Okay. And so if we add another $8,000, we're talking about $18,500 or so. And realistically, you want to have at least $20,000 if you're purchasing a $300,000 home, because you want to have a couple of months of reserves for your mortgage. So that way, you never know, something can happen and you're not feeling well. You have 2 months of reserves sitting in your bank account so that you can go ahead and pay that.
Okay. And so you mentioned the zero down. If I was someone who thought $20,000 was just out of my reach, how does the zero down payment programs assist with that $20,000 estimate or, suggested saving amount?
There are many different programs available. They all depend on the loan to value, your debt to income ratio, how much you're making and how much your debt is. Also, it has to do with your FICO score. There are some programs that require income limit. So depending on the type of person you are, each individual case is completely different. So depending on your scenario, we can determine together, okay, you know what, this program is going to work best for you based on your income, based on your FICO score, based on your purchase loan amount and the area that you're living. So, but I have been using this one program that offers up to 7% grant and down payment. As about, yeah. Erica knows our good friend Tina. She just found the buyer a home, and we were able to get him a 7% down payment. Yes. So the 3.5% we used towards the down payment, and the other 3.5% we used towards the closing costs. So he really probably came up out of pocket with maybe a few $1,000s, if that. So like I said, every scenario is different. That doesn't mean every single buyer is going to qualify for 7%.
Right.
Some buyers can qualify for 4.5%, and some can qualify for 5%. But definitely, our goal is to get the buyer max amount of down payment possible, so that they can pay as little as possible out of pocket.
Okay, and I'm a numbers person, so I want to do the numbers. So if 3.5% is 10,000, he got twice that. So he's got, it's just playing with the numbers just so people can see that. So
right.
3.5% is $10,000, and he got 7%.
So he's got 21,000 in total.
Yeah, I was going to say he's got like more than $20,000 as his down payment. And he was able to virtually pay nothing because he had the down payment covered and his closing costs covered. So any money that he did save, if he had that $10,000 or the $20,000 saved, he's using that to pay his mortgage for the next couple months.
Exactly. Not only that, maybe modify his house to his taste, do some landscaping, maybe get some new furniture, appliances, things like that. So definitely, the loan limit for LA County that you can get the bond program for is 510. So if you were to purchase a $450,000 home, 6-7% of that, we'll get all that money. However, 3.5% is actually a grant you don't pay back. The other 2.5% you do have to pay back, but it's at a 0 interest for 30 years or when you refinance. So
I was going to say, and that's one thing. People don't take the time just to seek out a mortgage professional like Najeeba. I try to set up appointments and things like that, and I try to avoid talking with them, but it's so much information out there for a first-time home buyer who cannot save that $20,000, right, who cannot save that $10,000 at least. And here it is, these programs, and people are pretty much running away from them because they think they don't qualify. But how do you know you don't qualify if you don't try, if you don't take the time to reach out to a mortgage professional and find out whether or not you do qualify for the loan? So that's why I'm so glad we're here today and we're talking about this, and people are going to hear that, come on. Just give us a call. It's a 30-minute conversation, right, Najeeba?
Not even that, probably 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's like,
and Erica, even if they don't qualify, they can call and I can guide and suggest for free and help them how to prepare, because not a lot of us qualify right away instantly. We might have to take some step towards a qualification. Mm-hmm. And that is why it's so important to seek a professional help to go ahead and start that step, and start saving. Okay, how much do I need to save? What FICO score do I need? What do I need to do to prepare? So if that information to you is available for free, why not take advantage of that? It doesn't cost you anything at all. So, why not? But like you said, not a lot of buyer thinks that, it won't cost them anything. or that there is help or grant available.
Yeah.
It can get them to become a homeowner, because everyone is afraid that you have to have that $30,000 or $20,000.
Not true.
Have great jobs, but it's very difficult to save that type of money. But yeah, you can definitely become a homeowner with as little as $8,000.
That's amazing. That's
And
amazing
here
to
in
know.
here in the Antelope Valley, that, with having that, you could get such a beautiful home out here.
Oh yeah.
There's homes that are built in the 90s. They're newer homes. If you go down into Los Angeles and things like that, you're not going to get as much as you're going to get here.
Right.
Down there, you're looking at a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but you're looking at the upwards of $500,000. Here in Palmdale, you can get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for under $300,000. So and that's a decent start, and everybody got to start somewhere, especially
Right.
the first time home buyer. The average home is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And yes, it is a seller's market. And just like Najeeba said, they're not really leaning to pay closing costs, but that's something that we can always ask for. And then there's wonderful programs like she just mentioned that would pay for the down payment and closing costs. So you're literally getting in the home for nothing, for nothing. So it's worth taking the time and seeking out. Don't worry about where you think you are. Just, call and find out.
Right. And I think normalizing the fact that the fear is having to sit down and look at yourself. Because when we're talking about buying a house and you're talking about my spending habits and you're talking about having to be vulnerable with exposing how much I spend, what my credit is with someone I don't know, normalizing that this is not mental health professional. I'm so used to saying that, but this is a professional in finance. This is a professional in researching, selling, and buying homes. This is the type of person you want to be vulnerable with these things with. Just like you wouldn't come to your realtor about your mental health, you wouldn't go. You want to come to your realtor.
All right, I'll listen, but I don't know how much I can help you. I can listen. I'm like, now what you want? Because I don't know.
You can help me with the areas and understanding the market and understanding my financial situation and giving me suggestions so that I can be in a place so we can have those benefits, as you mentioned earlier, like the security and the financial wealth. So I think normalizing that it's okay to be fearful, but if we allow fear to dictate us, then we miss out on things like home security. We miss out on things like financial stability and passive income, because in a sense, like you said, it's a piggy bank. I'm investing in myself every time I pay my mortgage versus like right now where I'm renting an apartment, I'm paying somebody else's mortgage,
Exactly.
So that's really good. I like that. This is good info. So running back to that gentleman who just had that 7% down payment, we talked about if he had saved that $20,000 that was suggested, that could really be helpful with moving expenses, right? Can we talk about moving expenses? What does that look like? Because I think as home buyers, we can get caught up in the home buying process and not really anticipate the moving expenses associated that we should probably anticipate for.
Well, sometimes like with realtors, they'll offer, things like, closing gifts as getting a moving truck, things like that for them. But those are the only expenses that you have to really, really worry about when you're moving, is because sometimes you have to pay, nowadays you have to pay down payments for, you got to have your credit check for utilities and have money down to get some of your utilities and the moving truck. And if you want to go that route, movers, or move it yourself, pack everything and move it yourself. But that's the most expensive things that you have to think about when you're, as far as, moving expenses. It's not a whole lot.
Okay. All right. Well, if I'm thinking about moving and I want to pick a home, am I allowed to pick a home that's in a desired school district, or how does that work? How does that work? Picking a home in a desired school district. What is your suggestion in regards to that?
Well, if you have a certain school in mind, what we would do is just pretty much stick in the zip code around that depends on your buying power as well. So if your buying power allow you to be in that school district, then what my job is to search in the area that's closest to that school, so you could be able to, be in that actual school district. But no, we go off of zip codes, and then it depends on your buying power. And when I say buying power, what you qualify for, how much home you can actually purchase. Because some people say, well, I want to be in the school district over on the west side, but meanwhile those homes on the west side are $100,000 more than what your buying power is. So what my job would be is to look for schools within your area that could fit more of the profile of what school district, school that you would like to send your children.
And just to touch base on that a little bit is, I personally am involved in the Palmdale School District and the high school. I attend the parents meeting. My children are in school, high school, in elementary. I attend the principal coffee meeting with them just to inform, to see the type of programs that they have available for kids, what their grading level is, so that when I have someone from Pasadena moving in here in Palmdale and I'm pre-approving them and they're saying, well, what do you think? What area? I have a little bit of knowledge saying, okay, well, the type of school in this area offer robotics or medical or engineering, or this particular school, is a dual merged language, like speaking Spanish and English teaches you both. So I think being involved in your community and your school district and attending the principal coffee meeting, which is like 1 hour or so, you learn a lot of information. You gain that knowledge to pass to the new buyer, kind of make them feel comfortable knowing that you gave some information to them, because maybe they're looking for engineering program. Maybe their kids is interested in robotics, or maybe some are into music. So to have that, knowing that you can pass and share that information, I think it's really good to have that involvement in your community and the schools.
I think that's awesome. I think that's amazing too, because I wouldn't have thought my loan consultant is someone I can turn to tell me about the resources that my children could tap into as far as education in this area. So I think that's awesome to know, that you can turn to, at least you as a loan consultant for that type of information.
I love it. I love it. I enjoy it. I try to attend the superintendent meetings, for my buyers, because our whole point is that we care about, our buyers. We want to put them in a new home. We want to pass out the information and to give them a little bit of extra information about the schooling system. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So
yeah, and tapping into what Erica mentioned about the buying power, you may want to go to have your child in the West Side Union School District over here because you heard so much about this school district, but your buying power might have you in the Palmdale or Antelope Valley School District. And I think if a loan consultant or a realtor knew, like, hey, yeah, I get it, you want to be in this school district, but did you know this school district has blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And that could help them alleviate that, because what if they wanted this school district just because they said it was good, but then they didn't know that Palmdale or Lancaster does have robotics or has Spanish or has, different things in that nature. They may be able to find their need, because sometimes, like we're doing now, information is there and services and programs are available, but we don't know about them.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I was kind of like saying. They may want to be over here, but they, that's why my job is to help them find something that is comparable to what they are looking for in the area they can't afford.
Right. So yeah, that's even good to know that I can even turn to my realtor for that. I can be vulnerable with my needs for my children when I'm talking about, because buying a home is it's a long-term commitment. From what I understand, we're talking about 30 years, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to be making a commitment for the next 30 years, I want to make sure my children can benefit from it, not just from the house, but from where our surroundings and what's around us. That's
and
awesome.
you have to also know that your first home is not necessarily the home you're going to stay in for the next 30 years. Mm-hmm. Usually when you move into your first home, people, say they love it and everything, but they outgrow it, or, it outgrows them. And then they decide, okay, well, I want to, go this route or go this or that route. Because sometimes when people, especially first time home buyers, their goal is really like a 5-year goal. you know, and then once after 5 years, they'll upgrade, or, you know, they'll decide whether they want to stay or move or however it goes. It's normally about 5 years.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. This is really, I'm really learning. It's really for me. If you guys don't teach nobody else, this is like a mini session for me, right? What I've heard in the past when I've helped a friend look for a house, and I remember this inspection was so important. What is an inspection when we're talking about the house? We've figured out the area that we want to move in. We're getting ready. We've got our down payment. Now they're talking about inspecting the home. What are they looking for?
Well, you're looking for imperfections in the homes that you don't want to worry about once you move in. You know, because a lot of times we look at a house, it can look really pretty on the outside, but we don't know what's going on in the inside. Just like you think about the human anatomy and what's going on, you don't know what's going on in your body unless you go have a checkup, right? So essentially you're looking at an inspection as a checkup of your home. You want to make sure your electric is working correctly and properly wired. You want to make sure that your plumbing is functioning and working right. You want to make sure you have a sturdy and non-leaking roof. You want to make sure the foundation is together. It's like things like this. So when you move in a home, you have an inspection, you have that you're comfortable in knowing, okay,
peace of mind.
Yeah, peace of mind. Thank you. You have a peace of mind knowing, hey, my home is my inspection turned out really good. I'm really confident about this, and then it help you move forward, you know, into buying at home, because inspections is that part of making that decision on whether or not you're going to want to purchase that place, because it can look shiny on the outside, girl, but it can have a lot of problems.
Yes, I experienced that. I remember going on this one inspection, and the house was beautiful, but what we didn't realize, what the inspector ended up finding was that there was a tree in the backyard that was breaking up the foundation of the home. And I think someone like me who's only rented, we don't necessarily, I guess not, I want to say weird, but me, I'm spoiled by being able to go to my landlord and go, hey, this is not working, right? And so I think an inspection when you're talking about that peace of mind, it's saying, hey, if you step into this, you've taken all these problems on, and they're going to be looking at, you're going to be the one to turn to with any of these issues. So you're going to have to find the electrician, you're going to have to find the plumber, you're going to have to find any, the construction worker if you need to make any adjustments to the home after the purchase is done. So I think that's very important. That goes into that security, that peace of mind when I'm.
And another thing that a buyer must know, that you can look for your realtor to give you some of those referrals in those areas for the plumber and electrician and the gardeners and whatever have too. So you don't have to necessarily look to do that on your own. You normally, I hand a list of people if I have them to give them a list of people that they can refer to, and they can use them or they can not use them. They can find someone else, but you can also seek out your realtor to help you with something like that.
That's awesome.
Also, just adding one thing to that as well is home warranty. Home warranty you can purchase. It's you pay an annual fee. You pay your landlord $1,700, but you call him once in a blue moon to fix a $50 sink. So, but if you have your own home, you can actually purchase a policy called home warranty, which has a very small fee deductible. You don't have to worry about electricity. You don't have to worry about plumbing. You don't have to worry about dishwasher. You don't have to worry about anything at all. It's literally like a landlord.
I'm sorry.
Right.
No, and guess what? As your realtor, I can negotiate the seller to pay for that for you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tell me something.
So,
I need to start writing notes.
So yeah, don't have that fear of knowing, okay, you know what, I can call my landlord today and he will fix my sink for me, but what if I buy a house and something goes wrong? What am I going to do, and how much is going to cost me? If you want the peace of mind, purchase your home warranty. It starts at $299 or something like that a year. Absolutely, yep. And so it depending on
more than that in renter's insurance.
There you go, exactly. So I would say, so I'm just trying to, let you know that nothing should stop you from buying a home. Like I said, the home warranty is there, and just purchase it and have the peace of mind of it's like a landlord. So, and probably cheaper than a landlord. So yeah, definitely that's available.
Okay.
And you also, when you purchase a home, you have your homeowner's insurance as well. And that'll cover a few things, major things, but at least the combination of both, because the home warranty normally get the little smaller things, like the hot water heater and things like that, and then you have your house insurance, which covers like the disaster type things and, floods and fires and things like that. So just having the two is a great combination to ease some of that fear.
Okay. Thank you. Because I did have that. That was one of my biggest fears. I'm like, who am I going to turn to? It's like, I'm not owning a home until I'm married. I don't want to have to deal with that. I'm going to give that to him.
Well, you better get you a man who's a handyman.
He was going to have to figure it out.
Well, my mom fixed most of the stuff going on in the house, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything. When my mom was alive, she did all the fixing. She would get under there, fix the plumbing and electricity. She would do all that. And my stepdad.
I know. That's just me. I'm just like, what? It's broken? Call somebody. So when I buy a home, what is included? I know that I really want to break down it's not just the house, right? It's the actual land that you're also purchasing too, right? Or what am I getting?
Well, if you're talking about the home in itself, when you're purchasing a home from a person, you got to realize there are fixtures and things that they may want to take from them, aside from, so if you're talking about that, yes, of course the land is included, but the thing is that sometimes you may walk in a home and it may be this chandelier and you're like, oh, that is so beautiful. I mean, you're already picturing your table underneath it, and you're having your dinners, and then, you ask your realtor, well, does this come with this? And you're just like, no, I'm sorry, they're going to take that with them. So you have to know that you have to replace that. A homeowner, a seller can also take a baby tree they plant in the backyard that you may love. Oh, wow. So yeah, that could be included in the sale, included in the sale where they're saying, no, you can't, I'm going to take this with me. So just know that there are certain items that may not stay. Most of the time, we end up lucky because people do leave, the dishwasher, the stove, the microwave, and things like washers and dryers, but that may not always be the case. They may take that stuff with them.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know, because I would be heartbroken if I walked in.
Yes, you walk in, you saw it this way, and then you go in through the final walkthrough, and you're like, wait a minute, what happened to that chandelier? I was already picturing my table there and my dinners, and it's gone. It's gone.
I'm like, we in the wrong house. The house I bought had a chandelier.
Yeah. So you know what? I've seen. Well, there's baby chandeliers too. But you know that if you do fall in love with something, an item, when you walk in, and it's attached to the home, make sure that those questions are being asked. Is this going to stay? And make sure, because sometimes we take for granted, or we just want to say, hey, it is, and it really isn't. They take it with them.
Right. And that could be like such a visual, eye-popping piece that makes it a decision, right? Because we're visual creatures. We if we can see it, we'll envision, like you said, envision our whole Thanksgiving dinner under it. And we didn't have a whole memory that hasn't happened yet, which influences us to buy the house, right?
Yes, that can happen. So either when you fall in love with a certain home, that can happen. And that's what you want your buyers to do. You want them to picture themselves there. You want them to love it, to the fact when you start going and negotiating, they're not going to change their mind.
Right. Okay, good. So right now, with everything that's going on, what's the average home selling for today?
Well, I kind of touched over there. Here in Palmdale, you're looking at a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. That's the average type of home that is sold for the average family. And you're starting as little as 260, 250 area. Depend, very small though. You're looking at 1,100 square feet to maybe 1,300 square feet. And then if you go to like 295, you may go to almost 1,500 square feet and above. Is, of course, it gets higher and higher for the 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Okay. Okay. What about this pandemic? How has that affected the market? How has COVID-19 changed things for real estate?
Well, just like we
Better.
spoke before, it is still booming on the G, but you know what? But it's a seller's market. It's a seller's market.
It's crazy.
That's one, yeah, it is crazy. The thing is that out here in the Antelope Valley, the properties are rising at a steady pace, which is wonderful. Because when you have a situation like this, you don't want these overinflated properties. Because when you start raising the properties too high, what happens? It becomes unreachable for the average working person. And so we're, you know, I'm so glad to be in an area where it's like moving at a natural, steady pace, and it's not inflated and it's not just blowing up. Now there is a multiple offers going on here. So when you're buying today, you got to come with your A game. You can't expect the seller to give you everything, because that's not going to happen. They have too many people to choose from as far as offers coming in. So you know, it's just a seller's market, and people need to be aware of that, but it's still a very good market. I mean, things are popping and they're moving along, but you know, you just got to be ready, and you can't be asking for a whole plethora of stuff, because it's not going to happen in this market.
So just to play devil's advocate, what's the difference between a seller's market and a buyer's market? How does that affect me as a buyer?
Like I just said, a seller's market is a person who owns a home and they're selling it. They kind of have the control right now because they have more than 1, 2, or 3 offers at one time coming in. Versus if it was a buyer's market and you held all the cards, they only may get that one offer on there, and so they're going to really look at it, because it may not be another one coming for a very long time. So knowing that and being in a seller's market, you have to come really just prepared to hear that no, but don't give up. That's the one thing. Buyers get worried after a while. If they keep getting no, but they have to persevere and keep going, because that one will say yes. So there's, you know, that's the only thing you have to remember in a market like this, is not to give up, keep moving forward, and you will eventually get that yes.
So it's good to have like a few options when we're looking at a home, quite a bit of options as far as like offering to right now, especially with it being a seller's market, right? For me as a buyer, I want to have a few homes I'm in love with.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing, is another way of looking at the seller's market versus buyer's market. It's that there's not a lot of people selling, so there are very little homes. Buyers, but you know, a small quantity of homes. So no one is selling it. They like where they are. So that makes it another, you know, way of saying it, seller's market, because they're not selling it.
Got it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of inventory out there.
So I want to touch back on when we were talking about people not coming to speak to a realtor or a loan consultant and really investigating about the programs that they have. I think for me, sometimes realtors and lenders can come off very aggressive and feel very like they're pressuring you into a sale that you may not feel comfortable with. I know I've experienced this myself. I know that I have never experienced this from you, Erica, or you, Najiba, but how do I know if I have a good realtor who's looking out for me, or a good lender who's truly looking out for my financial wealth, or looking out for a sale?
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, sorry. Well, the one thing is that first of all, I would never push anyone into purchasing something that they just truly don't love. Because my whole thing is to help guide you, help, negotiate for you. And that's pretty much my thing. I'm not going to say, oh, you must get this home because, it's just the best one. And meanwhile, I'm only pushing it because it's my listing. That's not fair to you. That's not fair to me. That's not fair to my seller, because you get into it, and then there is not, as a buyer, you're still not sure. You're just doing it because I'm saying so. I don't ever want to put anybody in that position. I need to know that a person is doing this because they want to do it. Because once you get into negotiating and start going back and forth and all this stuff, and they're indecisive and they're unsure and they're not comfortable, that's when you could get that pullback. They disappear on you, and that's embarrassing. You as a realtor, you want to come with a strong buyer. They're serious. They're not playing around. You want to make sure that they have all their documentation ready. They're ready to go. They are able. They show that they can afford this home. And so the last thing you want to do is push something on somebody and they're not ready. I'm going to be here. I've had my license for over 16 years. I'm not going anywhere with
it. Look at you.
Yeah. So it's just like, when you're ready, I'm here. But let me know that. Don't play the game. Don't do that, because we find that, Najiba, that people, they get pre-approved, all this other stuff. We're ready to go with them, and then they get cold feet and they disappear. Have a conversation so we know, okay, they're not ready right now, or maybe we can help you overcome what the problem is if you just speak with us, And that's the problem we do have with some buyers. They get cold feet, and they don't, instead of having the conversation like adults and saying, hey, you know what, I'm getting a little bit of cold feet. Could you answer this question for me? Or, I'm having this issue. I may be able to answer, and Najiba may be able to answer that for them. Because a lot of times it really comes down to the loans, Najiba? The loan question, the financing, the payments. And sometimes that kind of gets them, nervous and, a little, apprehensive, I'm trying to say, about purchasing a home, so.
What do you think, Najiba? What makes a good lender? A good lender?
So as a lender, you have to have a lot of patience, because as a first-time home buyer, the home buyer is, trusting you to find them, a great rate, a good program, and, down payment assistance might be, or make it easy. So as a lender, you have to take time to kind of guide and teach them step by step what they're getting into. It's a 30-year commitment. You can't just jump into it like not knowing anything. So for me, I think as a lender, you have to have a lot of patience, and you have to be available, and also to answer questions. Not be afraid to have the buyer call you and say, hey, and also educate them, and from the beginning, letting them know and give them the to-do list and not to-do list. So that way, once they are in the process of the loan, the loan doesn't go wrong. In other words, sometimes we'll qualify a buyer, and they're like, oh, they get all happy, and they're like, okay, we're ready to go. We have the loan now, we're approved. And they start, buying furniture, appliances, because they want to think ahead. And once they have the home and the key, they'll be ready to move in with everything brand new. So what my job is to let them know, listen, when you're approved for that amount, you have to just have your debt, everything the way it is until you receive the key in your hand. So I give them many tips on what to do and what not to do. I guide them and teach them the different programs, and I let them pick what program is best for them, because you know what's best for you, what your budget is, how much you can afford, how much you can save. So my job is not to push on you a certain type of loan. My job is to teach you and guide you, and you decide for yourself. So that you can see it, okay, you know what, I think this one is going to work for me because I'm going to save this much money, or this is going to work for me because I don't want to go with that type of rate. So, that's the type of person, I am. And I think let them know. Let my buyer Mhm.
I think for me, what I got from that is that I want my realtor and my lender to be available to me, someone who's responsive to me, someone who's patient with me, someone who's not pressuring me. So if I'm feeling these things from a lender or feeling these things from a realtor, then I need to look back and maybe not stop my home buying process, but look maybe into the market and find someone else. I only ask that because I'm always going to suggest you too, because I feel comfortable with you guys.
Thank you.
But there might be people on the East Coast that are listening to this and are not right here in California who you can support. I don't know if you can support people on the East Coast, but just so that individuals know what to look for when you're looking.
Our license is statewide. However, all we need to do is get the credits for that certain state. Depending on how much business we get from that state, we could definitely do that. Our offices are everywhere in the United States. We can definitely do referral. I just had a referral to Virginia. I went in and sent it to one of my co-borrower over there. I mean, Loan Depot is an amazing company. It's very caring. They really care about their buyers, and we beat any bank's rate. We'll match it if we have to, or if not, give you something better. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to call the lender and ask questions and get the guidance and get the steps toward the program. I think that initially when you say about buying a car, I see that the home is a lot easier than purchasing a car. A lot of people see that. Absolutely, yes. The car, they run your credit 20 times and to see which bank will give you a loan. With us, we only run your credit once, and the score is not that high and not needed. There's no income limit. You can make $500,000 and still qualify for the bond program. So the bond program is not based on how much money you make or how much money you have saved. It's based on your debt to income ratio and also your FICO score. So don't be afraid if you have $30,000 and you don't want to spend it and you want to take advantage of the bond program. Go ahead and use, save your money, take advantage of the bond program. It's not a problem. So don't be afraid to contact your lender or your realtor and get information about the home process or buying a home.
And she just mentioned, I'm sorry. Yeah, she just mentioned the same thing. As far as with eXp Realty, the same thing. I could call one of my colleagues in another state and hook them up with someone who could help them purchase a home out of state, or vice versa. Like if they're staying in a state, they can call me and I can help them here as well. So that's pretty much how it works. So if you want to relocate, I could help you find someone who could work with you and help you find a home in the area you're trying to move.
Okay, well, that's even better. I really like that because this makes it really universal. So whoever is in the United States seeing this video, if they're feeling comfortable with you guys, being able to come in contact with you, talk with you, and not only can you possibly help them with the process of buying the home, but you could also just direct them in the area that they need to go, right? You do like we call that a warm handoff, right?
Yeah,
We're making that connection, making sure they feel comfortable and getting them essentially where they need to be. So I think that's awesome. There's one question that I would like to go over, which is the debt to income ratio. I hear you guys have mentioned that quite a bit. Can we break that down of what the debt to income ratio really looks like?
Najiba?
Your debt to income ratio, sorry, someone's at the door. Debt to income ratio normally is depending how much money you make versus how much your debt is. So we're talking about your debt as your car payment, credit cards, and also, student loans, things of that nature. So you want to have low debt if you want to qualify for a good purchase price, because the bank is going to only take 45 to 50% of what your gross is actually as a mortgage payment. So if you're paying $5,000, we're not going to count that $5,000 as your gross payment and say, okay, you qualify for $5,000 mortgage. We're only going to count 45 to 50% max of that amount. And then let's say that's $2,500. So out of the $2,500, now you deduct your $500 payment. Now you're left with $2,000. Then you can deduct your credit cards and your student loans. Then that will determine, okay, now that we deduct all your debt, now you could qualify for $1,200. But if you're thinking, well, I make $5,000 and I could go buy me a $400,000 home. That's not how the banks see it. That's not how, the math works. So the debt to income ratio means it's your debt versus the income that you make.
And I think that's really good for us to explain, because people can think that, right? And so many times, even myself guilty, we live outside of our financial means, where we're living that paycheck to paycheck. And so the banks are really taking that into consideration. You can't pay $5,000 for a home if you make $5,000 a month.
Right.
You have other expenses and obligations.
You have utility, you're buying grocery, you're paying gas, putting gas in the car. So you're buying clothing. If they take that whole amount and consider it, you won't be able to live.
Right.
So it's like, you definitely need to have some money.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do is get in a home and struggle and then can't afford your mortgage.
Exactly.
But one thing that I like to do is I like to talk to my buyers, and I tell them, go through your list of everything that you pay for and see the things that you can eliminate to help you have more money to spend on a mortgage. Because a lot of times we have these little frivolous things that we spend for, maybe some magazines. I'm going old school, okay? Magazines, or this subscription somewhere you don't necessarily need. Maybe you can call and get a discount on your auto insurance, or something like that. Or maybe you want to cut down on a subscription to Netflix or something like that, because these little things are very minute in comparison to what you can get, which is home ownership. So, a lot of times I just talk to him, and that actually worked for a client of mine, and he sat down and he looked at it and he cut off $500.
Wow. And that's $500 a month. And if he does that for a year, I don't know what the math is right now, but
it's a lot of money.
I want to say that's about $6,000, but I think
no, it's more than that.
Is it 60? I don't know. We're not going to go.
It's $100 is $1,200, so times 5, so you're looking at almost.
So are you talking about 500 times 12?
Yeah.
Yes.
Talking about $6,000 a year?
I said 6,000.
Oh, I thought you said something else. I thought you said something else. Okay.
No, I was guessing, but yeah, even still, like, to even think that you could save $6,000 in a matter of 12 months, because 12 months goes like that. Look, we've been dealing with coronavirus for like 9. Yeah. So if we can do that, where we can cut things down and cut stuff out, we could really, put ourselves in a position where we could have that $10,000 that you suggested down as a down payment. So yeah, that makes it really.
And also, if you tell a person that, and if they get any type of tax return, by the time they get their tax return, there you go. You have a down payment.
Right, right. If you did 12 months and then you got your tax return, you have a down payment. I didn't think about that. That's true. I'm going to have to make an appointment with y'all, my boyfriend. I'll have to explain this to him.
And you know what, that tax season, we are busy. A lot of people do take advantage of the tax refund to buy homes. So it's a great opportunity to use your tax money.
So I'm curious, let's get behind the curtains. So you guys are doing this work, and of course there's payment for both positions as a realtor and a lender. Just for transparency, how does and anyone that was inspired to do real estate or to do a loan consulting, how does payment work for you guys? Whoever wants to go first.
Okay. Well, for me, I normally get paid through the seller's fee. I can negotiate additional monies from my buyers, but I don't do that. If I'm going to get paid with help and assist them, which is the seller ultimately selling their home, in return, I get paid for that, a commission. And it's usually, depending on what the listing agent negotiates. They can negotiate a certain percentage, and then they'll split it between the two. Or however they do it, because sometimes it could be a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on how motivated they want to to sell the home, you know, how motivated they are or whatever. So those, and sometimes it comes with bonuses too. You sell the house, you'll get a bonus. So it depends. It kind of varies. But normally a buyer, you get me almost 100% free, you know, so.
That's amazing to know.
Mhm.
Okay, I thought
Yeah,
it was
and that goes for
Erica.
us. A buyer, that's the same thing for us. A buyer do not pay us anything at all. We're direct lenders, so we do not charge you any points. We don't charge you origination. We're paid by our bank. So the buyer did not pay us anything. Actually, our processing and our underwriting fees and our credit report fees is probably less than $1,500 to $1,600. So we really don't have much charges.
That's why I like Loan Depot.
Well, you know what?
I refinance with Loan Depot, so yeah, I know.
That's right.
Like that. And then you know, they tell them what they offer a person when they refinance.
Let's hear it.
We refinance you 100% free.
The next time around.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, this is amazing information, because I didn't know, like, to just even for me, right? I didn't know that I could speak, and not only speak to, but utilize a realtor and a loan consultant at absolutely no cost for me through the entire process.
Yep.
That's really reassuring. For me, I know that I've avoided some of these conversations that Erica's invited me to. I'm like, I'm not ready to buy no home. I'm not trying to waste nobody's time. But now,
I see you calling us after this.
You know, and then maybe you can play this back to your fiance, because that's the one we really been trying to push just to listen. You know, once he hears this, he's like, oh, wait a minute. You know,
Yes,
and
yes,
if anything, you can find out where you are today for tomorrow. It doesn't, just because we speak to you now, you're not going to get any pressure from us to do it. It's up to you. But you need to at least find out, where are you in the process? Where's my credit? How much money do I really need? What can I do? Maybe, okay, you qualify for something, but it's not that much right now. At least you will find out what you need to do to get that buying power up. And that's
plan,
yeah.
plan, to move with intention, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's very important that we move with intention, and you can't necessarily know where you're going unless you know where you are right now.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
Another thing is, let's say we run your credit and we know that your debt is kind of high and you want to buy this beautiful home, but maybe your debt is not allowing you to purchase the kind of home you want. You can work towards your debt and get the guidance and suggestions from me for free, of course, no charge at all, to get to that dream home that you like. You know, maybe take a few months and kind of, like Erica said, don't go out to eat, and maybe, you know, cancel some subscription or something like that, and save that extra money to lower your debt so that you qualify for a higher amount of, you know, for a higher loan amount.
Yeah, like for example, some people, I can't believe it, they pay $200 for cable.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
$200 for cable, you guys. You're talking
That's
about
crazy.
$2,000 a year on cable television. You know, and you don't own a home. Come on, you guys.
yeah, like that's security, right? I would much rather reduce my cable bill from $200 to a $10 Netflix subscription and just watch whatever's on Netflix. You know what I mean? So
internet and Netflix, and you okay? You know, you still gonna find the same information.
And they have options now. You don't even have to choose just Netflix. You can do Disney. You can do Hulu. They have options, and I think even still, if you did all three, Hulu, Disney, and Netflix, if you did all three of those, I think it'll still cost you less than $50.
Most definitely.
Compared to the 200. Or you can do like me and my mom. We cheat. I pay for Hulu. She pays for Netflix. We got each other's account.
That's a good idea.
They might be listening.
But either way, I just, you know, there's things that the whole point is that there's things that you can do today for your future. There's things, and there's people you can talk to for free. that you could be vulnerable about your financial situation with and get professional advice. Because I think so much as a community, whether regardless of what race or what nationality you're from, we tend to turn to each other for support, and we may not be professionals in those areas. So it's always, I always want to encourage going to a professional in that specific department about whatever it is that you're seeking to get to move forward, because they're trained in this area, and you're trained in loans and consulting and that nature, and you're trained in real estate and understanding the market and understanding, you know, what a buyer needs and to be ready and things like that. So I think that's just really important for us to turn to you guys. We're moving towards the end. I would like for you guys to tell me what are the 3 most important things to you when it comes to real estate? And either one can start.
Well, the 3, I really just love seeing my buyers happy. When it's all over and said, and they're happy, and that I did my job to the fullest, and that, you know, I help them, you know, and help guide them to something that is going to change their lives dramatically. Not, you know, just home ownership to me is just such a special thing, you know. And if, you know, so I don't know if I said all 3 things, but I know those are the things that I feel. I just seeing that smile and seeing that excitement and that they're ready. It gives me chill bumps, because I know I did my job, you know. I know that they're going to be happy and they're going to grow and they're changing their future. And so for me, you know, that's what I get. I if you can't tell, I love the buyers. And people may say I'm crazy or whatever, and they all, you know, you may hear, oh, listings are it when it comes to it. No, it's that buyer, especially that first time home buyer who thought they could not afford to buy a home. And working with Najiba in the first time home buyer programs and the grant programs, we can make that dream come true. And that's exciting, because what is one of the things they say? The American dream is what?
To own a home.
Own a home.
And we can make that happen. That just excites me. So that's what I love about what I do.
Well, you don't have to give me 3. That was just so passionate. That counted as 3. And Najiba, I wanna ask you the same question. Again, it doesn't have to be 3. What is so important to you about real estate?
For me, the same thing. It's about the buyers. The way being a loan officer, it's literally like a puzzle. You have this buyer walk in and you have the documentation and you think this is perfect, but once you actually run into the loan, it's not as perfect as you think. Your job is to make sure you find a solution towards whatever problem occurs. And for me, knowing someone that didn't qualify, and I was able to help and guide, even though one of my buyers took us 1.5 years to prepare her to purchase. When she bought, it was the satisfaction of, you know, knowing that she bought. Yes, it was a struggle for a long time, but it was very well worth it. So for me, seeing that's my joy. The way I look at it, and I tell my buyers that when you start the loan process, it's like being pregnant. It's a bumpy ride. I would say it's not smooth, because it's not an easy process. It's not complicated, but there's, you know, sometimes you're easy, you're not easy, you know, things happen in between. But when you finally get that key in your hand, you forget everything. It's just like, you know, when you have the baby, a second baby or a third baby, and you forget that entire pregnancy. So, you know, what I do, I like to have my buyers pre-approved initially for their income part, and for, you know, the hard part I do initially to make sure that we can avoid that bumpy ride once we are actually in transaction and once we actually do have a contract, so that everything is just a smooth sailing. So it's an easy process.
I think that's amazing. To me, listening to this from someone who doesn't own a home yet, It sounds like a loan consultant or a realtor really just turns out to be like another life coach or another support to help you organize your life. Because if you're not in a position to buy a home, you guys are giving not only tips and suggestions and holding hands through getting into a position to buy a home. Those are all things to correct and improve your life for the long term. If you're thinking about the things that you're making suggestions and changing, eating out and looking at your spending, because a lot of times we don't know where our money is going, it's just going. And so I think that's amazing to know that it's okay to turn to a realtor and a loan consultant for these things, and that it's okay that you're not going to be ready to buy a home in 2 months, right? It can take, I can be ready.
Exactly.
I think for me, like I said, as a renter, you really don't start looking for a place to rent until it's about 30 days when you need to be out, right? So taking that mindset out of like, you don't have to be ready in 30 days. If it's going to take you a year and a half, if it's going to take you 6 months, whatever it's going to be your time frame, you're going to have a loan consultant will work with you. A realtor will work with you because they understand the process. They understand the ups and downs. They understand the setbacks. So I think that's amazing too, that we have such patient individuals. So
and it's a teamwork again. We can't by ourselves make it happen. You have to also put the effort. You also have to have the drive and willing to listen and follow through. So if we're willing to, give you the free information, give you the steps, give you the tools, and you have to take it seriously as well. Otherwise, it won't work if we don't work as a team.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And just know when it's a little bump in the road, don't get discouraged.
Exactly.
We could figure it out, It usually is something minor. You may believe it's big and it really isn't. Or maybe, like she said, you have to put it on hold for a little bit, but that's okay. It is, when the time is there for you to purchase, it will be there.
That's awesome.
And also be right at the beginning, be very transparent and honest with your loan officer, because we're going to find out everything. So it's best to let us know up front so that we can work around it and start it that way, versus finding out things in the middle, which will take a long time. For example, if you are paying child support or, there's a lien on you or something like that, let us in advance so that we can work it before to save ourselves time. If you hide anything, trust me, it will come up and it will just prolong the process. That's all it is. So I ask my buyers, be very transparent with me and I'll help you. We'll fix it and we'll do it the right way. Instead of not telling me some information because you don't feel like digging for the papers and giving me like divorce decree and things like that. And, later on we're going to ask for it. So that's very important, to be just completely honest, transparent with your realtor and with your lender, and let them know about everything.
About being vulnerable.
What's in the dark will come to light.
Yeah.
I want to be in that process. It has happened. You gotta, if you know about it. Sometimes you may just not know.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, and it comes up, but yeah, it will come to light. So just try to be as honest and as transparent as possible, because it'll come back up.
It will make the process easy. Makes the transition. It makes the whole transaction easier.
Yes.
So if someone was really as passionate as you guys are, with our final question, what would they need to do to start in you guys' professions? And again, you guys can answer, whoever goes first, but what would they need today to start to be a real estate agent or to be a loan consultant?
Well, to be a loan consultant, you really have to just go to the schooling. So you take your school hours. I did it live. I went in person and live because I'm a live person. I like to ask questions. You could do an online classes, and you just take the state test, basically, and that's it. A lot of lending company will take you if you're 2 years experience, but there's a lot of times what you can do is join like a group. you know, go under one of the loan officer and then learn and then actually, you know, transition on your own. That's another way of doing it too, because sometimes you don't want to just jump right into it not knowing, and it's better to, you know, take kind of like under someone's wing, kind of learn, and then, you know, do it on your own. I started as an assistant first. Wanted to see, you know, I've been doing this for many years, but I took some time off to stay home with the kids. And then when I went back, you know, I went back as an assistant. And then once it was an opportunity to become a loan officer, then I went ahead and transitioned. So it's definitely easy. Yeah.
Okay. And
And pretty much the same thing. You could places like Keller Williams, they offer live in-class training. You can also do it online. You can also just go and get all the books you need and just study at home. And when you're ready, you just go take the state exam. You pay your fees and you go take your state exam. And from day one, you don't have to be an assistant or anything. Just get you a mentor, someone to follow, or you can go and assist someone who's doing very well, or you could go and be on a team. They have real estate teams and you can start there. So there's different ways that you can, you know, you can start off where it won't be so overwhelming.
okay, awesome. Good. That's good information. I love information. I love all kinds of information. I think I want to thank you guys again so much for, at the very least, educating me. We're going to be scheduling an appointment pretty soon. And
Because we've been talking for how long now?
we've been talking for a minute.
Last year.
We're going to have to record handing you the keys. You're going to have to do, you know, one of those lives, what the process was like, and then getting your keys.
Yes, and flashback to this video, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
So I just want to thank you because, like I said, at the very least, I was educated and informed. I'm hoping and so very hopeful that this will do the same for others that are considering buying homes, for my friends, for the future generation, for the older generation that didn't know about it, just for anybody who's in that what is the home buying process kind of mind state. So I want to thank you again for coming on and getting the word out.
Thanks to you also for giving us this opportunity to educate, you know, people like you who didn't really know much about, you know, loan process or real estate process or buying process. So thank you for doing that. That's great.
Yes, thank you so much. And I hope with this people will know that it is obtainable and it's, you know, it's easier than they think. You know, just take time and patience and education.
Right. Oh, and before I let you guys go, can you let everyone know how they can get in touch with you, how they can contact you, so if they are inspired to buy a home, they can get started?
Okay, well, I'm with eXp Realty, and you can get, I'm here in the Antelope Valley, and my number is 310-864-8235. I specialize in first-time home buyers in particular. I do home selling as well as buyers, but my specialty is first-time home buyers.
Awesome.
And my name is Najiba Bashir, and I could be reached on my cell phone number is 661-264-7576. And you're also going to post our business card on the bottom that does have our information. However, I cover all LA County. So if you're interested in purchasing Lomita, Torrance, Cerritos, anywhere in the state of California, basically I can help you. Now each county limit of course changes, but yeah, definitely all LA County.
Awesome. That's good to know. And I also want to reiterate or say again that both Erica and Najiba can also, if you're not in the area of California or not in the Antelope Valley, they can connect you to other individuals that they're familiar with, that they work with, that are in your area nationwide. It doesn't matter where you are in the United States, they got connections. And they can All right. Until next time, ladies, I enjoyed you. This was informative and helpful, and we will see you back again.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah.